The auto industry. The auto industry was created in 1890. The cars that were built then uh, were carriages that were converted from pulling horses to gas motors so that they could operate without a horse. Most of these cars were very expensive, and only the rich could afford to buy them. In 1908, there was a man by the name of Henry Ford, the man who really brought the car industry to the average person. He's the one who created a vehicle that everyone could afford to buy. Henry Ford opened his doors in 1908, being becoming the best maker ever in history. In 1910, Henry Ford built the Model T. It ran for 17 years in production. In 1927, it ran its last Model T off the assembly line, producing over 15 million Model Ts. Ford, during this time, invented the assembly line, all kinds of innovations, pressing machines, different machines to create body panels, body work, different types of the car at a better cost. The first Model T off the assembly line ran about $975. At the end of the Model T productions, the lowest cost of a Model T was $260. That's how much innovations and changes have created such mass production of vehicles that have dropped the cost. In 1908, Ford had a little bit of competition. There was a guy by the name of William Durant that wanted to start a car company, but knew nothing about it because, one, he hated cars, and he hated the fact that he had to listen to them drive down the road. But he decided that, hey, he could make a little bit of money even though he despised them. And so he started a company called General Motors, which we know today. There's still a lot of people that despise it, but hey, um, that's why we're Ford lovers. When Durant started with GM, he had bought, there were about 45 automotive car manufacturers in the early 1900s. He bought up 30 of them. His goal was get them all together and produce one car. He didn't want several different makes and models and all these knowledges. He only wanted one. So that's how General Motors started out, was one idea, let's build one car, and that's the way they wanted to go. But they got big enough because of the way that they bought all these companies that it basically was bought up by a couple of other guys, and it got introduced into just a company that was built off of the idea of investment company. And so nobody was really in that company for anything other than to do an investment to make some money. Then later in 25, the Chrysler Corporation came into effect. Their biggest thing was they wanted to build luxury cars. When Chrysler came in, they had bought a company called Maxwell Motor Company, and that's all they did was build luxury cars. So Chrysler decided that they wanted to start building something like cheap, mid-range, and then a luxury vehicle. But there was only one that really stood out in the crowd, and that was Ford. Ford, through the years, when World War II came along, they changed their company over so that they could support the military and support the war. They built airplanes, they built military vehicles, and once the war was over, they built airplanes for transportation. They were the first company to build an airplane for human transportation. Once this started, they started building technology. Then in the 60s and early 70s, Ford had a company called Philco. Philco was a company that was on the electronic side, and it helped get the space shuttle or the Apollo mission to the moon. They built the command center and everything to go along with it so that NASA could control this spaceship. Then um, during this time also too in the 60s was the muscle car era. Ford was hitting the pavement. They were wanting to build the best thing out there. They were building Mustangs. They were building Cougars. They were building Torinos and they were building the 427 engines and also the 429 Boss motors and the 351 Clevelands, and they were just pounding the streets. And the Mustang was outselling the Chrysler Barracudas 10-1 because people just liked them better. They were a better looking car. They were more powerful, and plus Ford was just tearing them up on the drag car strips and the car races and in NASCAR. And it got so bad that finally they were asked by NASCAR that they had to make some changes because they were winning so much they were going to take them out of the race if they didn't. And so NASCAR changed policies so that everyone had to start complying on the same level because the competition was just too tough. They just couldn't keep up with Ford. So then as time went on, back in the mid, you hear about 10 years ago in 2008, the recession was getting the economy was getting so bad that GM started going downhill. Their products were going bad. They just couldn't keep up. People buying vehicles. Chrysler Corporation was just losing money everywhere. Finally, the recession got so bad that General Motors filed for bankruptcy. And the Chrysler Corporation did the same thing. And before it was able to close out, Fiat came in and bought the Chrysler Corporation to keep it up on its feet. Instead of like any other business, you claim bankruptcy, your company's dissolved, but we had a president that just couldn't handle seeing GM go down the tubes, which a lot of us Ford guys would much rather see it go down the drain, because Ford and Chrysler would have took and probably built a better vehicle that way. But the government stepped in and put billions of dollars into this company to keep it on its feet because they thought it would be good for jobs. But hey, Chrysler and Ford would have been able to do the same thing. Then, but Ford was the only one out of this whole situation that was prepared, that didn't allow the recession to be a bother. They had innovation and other things to help them out to get through it. They were able to get all of their own funding and everything on their own because of the way that they had care of company. And so looking at it today, Ford is still the best product out there. Ford, all these other companies are always advertising about their trucks and about how good they are, whereas Ford doesn't have to do it like that, because what do? They're outselling GM and Chrysler trucks 3-1. And the Ford F-150 is the selling pickup ever on the market. It sells more pickups than any manufacturer of a car on the market in the world. And so why wouldn't you want to buy a Ford when you can be number one? So go to the nearest Ford dealer and buy a Ford. Thank you.